ninth day of August 2022, Monday, 29 August 2022. This is Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9. The social media platforms to engage with us whilst the program is on are as follows: www.facebook.com/Law FM Radio, www.facebook.com/Law FM Radio. One word. Instagram handle is at Law FM Radio. One word. At Law FM Radio. Twitter handle is at Law FM _radio. Law FM _radio. You can listen live on our website from anywhere in the world on www.lawfmng.com, and you can also listen or watch the live streaming at our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/lawfmradio. My Twitter handle is at Gbola Oba, Instagram at Gbola Oba. Today, our Nigerian proverb today is: the day one starts out is not the day to start preparation. The day one starts out is not the day to start preparation. The summary of some major headline news today are as follows. Again, ASU extends strike. Again, ASU extends strike. It's just been reported that after a very contentious meeting of the executive of ASU at its headquarters on the campus of University of Abuja today, the leadership of ASU ultimately decided, I said after a very contentious meeting because some disagreed, and let's be very honest with ourselves, for those who have missed getting paid in the last 6 months or thereabout, it won't be easy, but ASU's leadership ultimately extended the strike today. Court stops Buhari NBC from shutting down 53 broadcast stations. Court stops Buhari NBC from shutting down 53 broadcast stations. A federal high court judge today in Lagos, Honorable Justice Aluko, granted an interim injunction to the prayer of SERAP, a non-governmental organization fighting for a civil society organization in the area of legal rights and activism, that the stations should not be shut as the National Broadcasting Commission would ordinarily have wished. And lastly, on the major headlines that we're briefly touching, PDP crisis. Something will happen soon. Wike. PDP crisis. Something will happen soon. Wike, the longer the PDP candidate Abubakar Atiku and the PDP leadership allow the tantrums of Wike to continue in that party, the more PDP will seem to Nigerians not to be the opposition party that should take over power. When discords within party are made open, voters are usually distraught and disillusioned. About time they came out, Atiku and the leadership of PDP, about time they came out to make the final pronouncement on this. We go on a short commercial, and when we're back, we do our literary intro before we formally introduce our guest today. Thank you.
On the busy streets, the air delivers the signal of Nigeria's first and only law radio station. The station where you get to hear the law, talk the law, and know your rights like never before. Law FM 103.9 for knowledge and entertainment.
They are the leaders of the country today. Tomorrow has come. Law is meant to be understood by everyone in society, irrespective of age or status. No bias. It should be clear and precise. Law FM 103.9 gives you the best content, and they are here for you. My name is Khadija Okunu Lamidi, and I urge you to keep listening to Law FM 103.9.
Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go
on Law FM 103.9. It's crazy, it's fun, it's witty, it's interactive, it's a full course meal in one package. It's the evening cruise on radio where we take off from Onimoto to Law FM Sports in charge of bail, and the cruise ends with telling live stories. Yes!
right here.
I'm the Lua Damlalai Manuel.
It's the Master Planner, the Ambassador, and Studio Council on radio, 49 p.m. weekdays on Law FM 103.9.
The number one
station for knowledge and entertainment.
Fact or fiction? This is Law FM 103.9.
Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9.
Welcome back to Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9. The social media platforms to engage with us live and watch the content live stream are as follow: facebook.com/Law FM Radio, Twitter handle at Law FM _radio, Instagram at Law FM Radio, my Facebook page, facebook.com/Gbola Oba. My Instagram is at Gbola Oba. My Twitter handle is at Gbola Oba. We start today by reading a literary intro before we formally introduce our guest. The role of minority parties in Nigeria's political history. The role of minority parties in Nigeria's political history. Many Nigerians, especially Southwesterners, may not know that minority politics has been endemic in the formulation of modern democratic form of government in the region, indeed in Nigeria. In the November 1951 elections in the region, unlike in the southeastern and northern regions, where NCNC and MPC had clear majority elected members of the region's legislative assemblies respectively, and could unilaterally, as the majority parties formed the governments, the southwest region was embroiled in a controversy because the party with the highest number of elected members in the regional legislature, AG, could not solely form its government because it did not directly get the 2/3 members of the chamber. Hence the following. In addition to the Action Group and the NCNC, there were local divisional parties such as the Ibadan People's Party, led by Chief Augustus Meredith Adisa Akinloye, Ondo Improvement League, the Otu Edo of Benin. At the end of poll, the standing of the parties was as follows. Action Group, 38 elected members. NCNC and Independents, 25 elected members. I need to repeat this because historically this has been bastardized and misinformation has been turned to fact amongst political historians in Nigeria. In addition to the Action Group and the NCNC, there were local or divisional parties such as the Ibadan People's Party, IPP, led by Chief AMA Akinloye, Ondo Improvement League, and Otu Edo of Benin. At the end of poll, the standing of the parties was as follows. Action Group 38, NCNC and Independents 25, IPP 6, and Ondo Improvement League 2. Otu Edo candidates won the 3 Benin seats, namely Chief S.O. Igodaro, Chief Humphrey Omo Osage, and Chief Chike Ekuyasi. Chief Igodaro opted for the AG, while the latter two went to the NCNC. And of the 6 IPP, that is the Ibadan People's elected members, only Adegoke Adelabu, popularly known as Penkelemesi, joined the NCNC. The rest of them, AMA Akinloye, Chief DT Akimbiyi, who later became the Olubadan of Ibadan, Chief S.O. Lanlane, Moyosore Abodari, and S.A. Akiyemi opted for the Action Group. The NCNC National Secretary, the late Chief Kola Balogun, had sent declaration forms to the IPP assemblymen asking them to declare for the NCNC, but Chief Akinloye returned all the forms uncompleted. The 3 Action Group secretaries who are drawn as independents are Adegbenro, Oshuntoku, and Azan. 5 IPP members, 1 Etu Edo and 1 Ondo Improvement League, Chief F.O. Awoshika, and Chief Timothy Adeola Dutola Independent Ijebode had swollen the number of the Action Group elected members. All the transactions are taking place before the inauguration of the Regional Assembly on 7 January 1952. These were not known members of the NCNC, nor did the party publish their names on the list of its candidates. For over a half century, the NCNC is yet to provide evidence to back its claim that it had won the Western Regional election in 1951. Mr. Cooper absolved his department of responsibility for the controversy generated by the NCNC after the election. At a post-election news conference in Lagos, he said that, quote, of the winning candidates, the names of 38 were on the list sent to me by the action group. The 6 successful candidates at Ibadan were all among those who had been identified to me as representing the Ibadan People's Party. No claim of any kind had reached us about the party affiliation of the remaining successful candidates. Why did the NCSC not send a list of the candidates for the poll to the government's PR department before that poll? The records of the poll conducted in the West and all over Nigeria by the colonial administration are available at the National Archives and can be accessed by any honest researcher. In this matter, it is facts that speak, not what some politics or ethnic partisans said or did not say, as shown below. Faced with this set of circumstances, the Egbe Omo Oduduwa lured 20 victorious candidates on the ticket of the smaller rival parties, minority parties, to join the action group, thereby tilting the balance in favor of the party against its majority opponent, the NCNC. Some of the leaders of the small parties were offered ministerial appointments to join the AG. One of them was Chief Augustus Akiloye, who was appointed the Nigerian Minister of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and who reciprocated by persuading 4 out of his 5 victorious colleagues in the Ibadan People's Party into joining the AG. The only IPP member who refused to join the AG was Honorable Chief Adegoke Adelabu, who instead joined the more national NCNC. In conclusion, it is obvious from the above, and given the alliance that the MPP, a minority or third force party, entered into with the MPN in the Second Republic, and the unique merger of 4 minority legacy parties, ACN, CPC, AMPP, and a fringe of APGA APCA, to form the APC, which unprecedentedly defeated the PDP ruling or majority party in 2015. That although analysts and voters largely see them as irritants, but they sometimes can be bonono salt, if I may mimic the Ibadan accent of Nigerian politics. Today, as our guest is the spokesman or spokesperson of the presidential candidate of a minority party. I have Mr. Adeniyi Kunnu on the phone. Good evening, Mr. Kunnu. Hello? Hello? We go on a short break, and when we're back, our guest who is virtual will hopefully get to speak. Thank you.
You are listening to Law FM 103.9,
where the beat never stops. Never stops.
Where we play your music your way all day, every day.
On Law FM
on Law FM
103.9.
Strap yourself in.
Hey y'all, it's your girl IoT, aka Rockstar. Keep listening to Law FM 103.9.
The wait is over.
Now, on We Must Wear. But I'm actually an entertainment lawyer. I've been working in Nigeria now for almost 6 years, growing my practice.
I got an email from somebody I never met before.
On Women's Wear. I privilege practice,
Power Corridor on Law FM 103.9.
Welcome back on Power Corridor. Our guest is now live and kicking virtually through the phone. Good evening, Mr. Adeniyi Kunnu.
Good evening to you. Thank you, Mr. Gbola Oba, for inviting me. Thank you.
Your background is a bit noisy. I hope you're not listening live to the radio.
There's no changing noise here. There's no noise here. I'm fine. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Kunnu, did you hear the introduction?
I heard all you said. I did.
Okay.
I heard everything you said. Mm-hmm.
Would you be kind enough to tell us the name of the political party for which you are the spokesperson of its presidential candidate?
It's the African Democratic Congress. The African Democratic Congress.
And the name of your candidate?
Is His Excellency Adeniyi Kunnu. It's from Onukibo. It's from Onukibo in Delta North. In Delta North. It's from the Niger Delta. Thank you.
You are already addressing him as the Excellency. Has he held any executive position before, from the level of the governor to the president? Or you are just you are prophesying?
As far as contemporary politics is concerned, we are covering the respect that such lofty office that speaks as possible.
We can barely hear you. We may have to call the line back.
No. I can hear you. Hold on a bit. Alright? Maybe you want to call me back, but I can hear you very clearly. I can hear you very clearly.
There seems to be background noise, and it's not from your end, so something is interrupting. Let me call you back. It does that.
Fine now. Is it okay now?
It's better now. Yes, it's better now.
Listen, please.
Okay. So I was teasing you by saying, as it held.
I said that when you talk about the office you seek to occupy, there are respects that you are called the person seeking the number one office in the land, and in contemporary politics, it's appropriate that you address him as such. So I say that I am the spokesman for His Excellency to maybe Kachuku,
okay,
who is seeking to occupy the most exalted office in the land after the February 2023 elections.
I was just hoping that some of you will come with a form of culture change and take us away from the idiosyncrasies that has gotten us into the rut we are in now. So if you insist, I'm not contesting it. If you insist that you want to do it the way those who have run it aground want to be doing it, no problem. Let's go to some more important issues.
Yes, sir.
What would be the difference? What would be the difference between a minority party such as yours to what we've seen thus far, especially in the Fourth Republic, or in just about all the previous Republican experimentations we've had in Nigeria? What is your party going to do differently?
In the first place, let me correct your statement. You repeatedly have called my party a minority party. I want to correct you that my party is a national party and cannot be described as a minority party. The reason I've said that to you is very clear. My party, not for a day, has even thought or imagined changing its name or aligning with other parties. My party, the African Democratic Congress, has participated in 4 consecutive presidential elections. In 2007, my party came 4th. In 2011, my party came 8th. In 2015, my party came 7th. And in 2019, my party came 4th. In a nation that has a current population of estimated at about 200 million, I think it is wrong to call my party small party. Maybe you'd have to look at other parties that were not big enough to contest elections on their own and have to merge and change their name. Certain parties have evolved with new nomenclatures from AD to AC to ACN to APC, some ANPP, some CNPP, and all kinds. My party has not changed the name. So maybe you refer to those parties as small, not the African Democratic Congress.
Okay. Because students of politics are listening to us, and students of government at the O level are listening to us, so that we don't confuse them. I would want to let you know that in a liberal democracy, once a party does not come anywhere near the first, second, or third, does not have anywhere near the first, second, third elective offices as in numbers, that party. Let me give you a typical example. The Green Party, as we speak today, is in alliance, is in coalition running the government in Germany, but it's a minority party because it is the Liberal Democratic Party in England, notwithstanding the fact that is even regaining its upsurge now, is a minority party. So this is not about conceit, it's not about intellectual.
The UK has less. The UK is less than 100 million. In West
so you want to change? You want to change the political definition? You want to change the political science definition of minority party?
Nothing is cast in stone.
Okay.
Called politics, contemporary politics, is because there are evolutionary processes that are actually giving such parties certain status, certain levels, by virtue of its participation. And when you talk about the research done in recent times in politics, you have to do a contextualization and contextualization of the status of political parties such as you're discussing now. And I think it's very fundamental also to point out.
How many elective offices has your party filled in the last cycles of?
Held no less than 7 to 8 elective offices at the federal level.
And relative to PDP, APC, ABGA. I'm just putting the facts to the facts are supposed to be incontrovertible, Abi.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you cannot.
Okay. Now you have won. In so much as you stated that as far as you are concerned, against the intellectual run of play of such, no problem. Then I will oblige you that. Once you said as far as you are concerned, I will oblige you that. The number to call for those listening to us, in case you want to engage with this intellectually vibrant gentleman, who, for me now, seems to be pushing me in the direction of giving me Trumpian definitions of political terminologies. The numbers are 070-322-77338. 070-322-77338 or 090-9555-1039. 090-955-1039. Mr. Adeniyi Kunnu is a very articulate person. Actually, we have a caller for you. Oh, sorry, the call went off. But we have stated the number. Mr. Kunnu?
Yes, sir.
I would want you to, in brief, intimate our listeners with the ideas or the policy configuration that your party intends to bring into governance, or that your candidate intends to bring into governance, with a view to taking us dramatically from this seeming way of perdition that failure of leadership and governance have taken Nigeria thus far?
All right. Let me make it clear first that part of the things that we have failed to do coming into governance is lack of preparedness. When a party wants to take the number one seat in the land, rather than merge or have foibles, the first thing is to actually be able to do a very needful diagnosis of the problem of the country before wanting to gain power. What my party has been able to do in 22 years of Nigeria's Fourth Republic is to do a consistent diagnosis of the reasons many of us who are in this country continue to get the wrong side of the handshake anytime people get into office. The first thing that we must understand, that from the return to the Fourth Republic, insecurity has been a very consistent melee that many of us should really give consideration to. And if we look at it, between 1999 and this current year, the country has not been able to even shore up those it recruits to actually be on the side of the nation's security forces. So you have a country of 220 million approximately that has less than 500,000 security operatives, especially in the military. And you have the enemies of state who are non-state actors who recruit daily to get people on their side to fight the ideological war. I think that the first thing that my boss, His Excellency Dumede Kachukwu, has been able to come up with, and that many of us who have sat with him in the course of preparing for this daunting task, is to identify the limitations regarding manpower. More or less like asking just 10 people to operate a company that has, without, even with digitization, there are aspects of even online shopping where you need people to move the goods from one place to the other. So I think that the first diagnosis is to look at the limited numbers of those that are conscripted to even be in the nation's security forces. Then you're talking about also understanding another level of intervention. It takes about 3 to 4 months for a civilian conscripted to start thinking like an army officer. Then it takes upwards of 3 to 7 years for the same person to actually be able to use the artillery of war. So when we look at all of that, it is what we have been able to identify as a party, especially my boss, His Excellency Dumede Kachukwu, as the first thing we should do. But if you tie closely to that, which is the issue of insecurity, is the aspect of competence. You know, competence matters a great deal. It is not enough for you to have the numbers conscripted to fight a war or to protect the citizens of the country, but it is also fundamental that you are able to get the people that are supposed to be the square pegs and square holes, not trapezium people in isosceles triangle. And this is another thing that my boss has been able to identify.
So basically regarding security, beefing up the numbers of the personnel of the security establishments.
The army has less than 500,000.
Okay, I have a tweet. I have a tweet of a question for you here. Adeniyi Kunnu at one leg in is asking, I just want to find out from Mr. Kunnu if his decision to be the spokesperson for Kachukwu is out of conviction or contract, and will he have taken side with Atiku Obi Tinubu if he was approached before taking side with Kachukwu? That's from Adeniyi Kunnu.
Would you like me to give answer to that now?
To be honest with you, it's a question from one of our listeners. I wouldn't know.
Well, don't tell the person that it's a decision to be a patriot, and see how we can lend our voice from the inside to issues of national interest, basically. That's my primary motivation.
Fantastic.
If the camp of Tinubu, Atiku, or the camp of Obi have reached out, then maybe we'd have a conversation around that. But a person who doesn't have the baggage that other people have really is somebody that has actually given me the clearance call to serve, and I wouldn't actually sacrifice that for the world, because it's an opportunity for me to do on the inside what I've been doing as a core of the fourth estate of the realms for many years.
How would you, what would be your response to the fact that at this juncture there is another minority party that seems to be besting your party at garnering the support, especially of the youths? And it does seem that parties such as yours, parties such as ADC, SDP, may end up letting that other party, without wanting to call names now, letting that other party lose steam from by being distractionary elements to what the third force could probably do in this political cycle, in this electioneering cycle. What would be your response to that theory?
First, let me make it clear that my party, the ADC, has foothold.
Please, Mr. Kunnu, sorry, I have a caller. Let's give some priority to the caller. Caller, good evening. Your name, please, and where you are calling from.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Chief Gbola Oba.
And where you are calling from?
I'm calling from Ikorodu City.
Okay.
And welcome to your guest.
Thank you.
I love your guest ruggedness.
I didn't hear what the caller said.
I will repeat it to you. Don't worry.
I love your guest ruggedness. But what I don't cherish much is the rewriting of history. Because if you come to what you say, majority and minority, they're not really out anywhere in the world. I don't know how many governors they have occupied, and the National Assembly, how many places they have occupied. I'm talking about the way you mentioned about majority and the minority. You are correct. And I guess was trying to put that history, write the history. That was just what is my
problem with his
argument there.
Thank you very much, Chief. Mr. Kunnu, the gentleman loves your power of articulation, your confidence in communication, but is a bit disturbed that you are trying to distort history and facts by wanting to, through an intellectual somersault, redefine your party as a majority party when the facts are obvious that is a minority party. What would be your response to?
Okay, let me school the last caller a little bit. Before the 2019 elections, INEC deleted over 100 parties. And one of the primary reasons INEC deleted those parties was because they could not even hold positions beyond the territorial waters of their states. The ADC has held positions at the federal level and thus qualifies to sit where others have been sitting. So I think it's important to let the last caller know that with every respect to him, this is not an intellectual somersault, but it's a fact of the matter. Well, before his call, there was a question you asked me, and I was giving answers to that before the needful interjection.
You can go. On.
There are 32 locations in this country where the ADC has foot soldiers, and this has accounted for our presence. It has accounted for the level of success we've been able to make, and it has accounted for the level of accessibility across the country. We don't talk about structures. We talk about patriots that we have as party members, and even in the other four states of the federation, we have presence there. But of course, we're working to ensure that before February 2023, we have carpeted the entire 36 states of the federation, and we don't even talk about the Federal Capital Territory, where my boss has made home for many years. So I think it's important to understand that we are not a party to be shoved aside. And at the same time, when we talk about people that appear to be making all the noise back and forth and perhaps thinking that maybe elections are only won on virtual spaces, election is a combination of the momentum you gather on virtual spaces and how you are able to create a consolidation of such momentum, in the realistic physical space where the battle is won and done with. So I think that people should be clear on the position of my party regarding going into the 2023 general election.
Okay, Mr. Kunnu, Mr. Kunnu,
presidential election after the 2023 election.
Let me quickly remind our listeners of the numbers to call again. The numbers to call are 070-322-77338, 070-322-77338, or 090-9555-1039, 090-9555-1039. Mr. Kunnu, the little I know about your background in broadcast journalism and your intellectual persona, I know that if you were to swap places with me, and you are talking to a spokesperson of a political party's presidential candidate, and that person is saying or using the phrases, "Let me school," somebody who has asked the question, would you not think that is a bit condescending? Talking to your audience, a bit intellectually aloof.
Well, that's why I actually expressed my appreciation because of what the last person said. And I think that when we school people into understanding, it doesn't mean they don't know anything. It simply means they need to add knowledge to knowledge. And if that sounds a bit condescending, I apologize on air, but I do not mean to disrespect.
That is quite magnanimous of you, because I know your background, that if we were to swap places with me and I was the person using the phraseology, I know you would laser in like
my apologies, please.
Mr. Kunnu?
Yes, sir.
You have a candidate that has radiated intellectual vibrancy, but at this juncture, maybe because the presidential campaign has not officially been launched, it does not seem to have the momentum that the seeming third force element is garnering. And I'm wondering, how could your party be this blessed with bountiful intellectual resources, personages, and yet it does seem that even I could not, you would have noticed that even I was not to make mistake, I could not even name the party I wanted you to name it at my intro. Don't you think something has to be done to galvanize your grassroots better than is presently done?
Well, our grassroots are healthy and available, and as a journalist of repute that you are, I know that you're aware of the Big Bang Theory and how the noise is always everywhere. Then before you know what is happening, it fizzles out. We are aware of the signs of policies, and we are aware of the dynamics of contemporary Nigerian politics. We are armed with the decibels that will not become cacophonous in the course of time. And because we are actually equipped with all the information about strategy, we are not bothered one bit about all of the things going on around, because we are doing our work. Maybe I need to mention this because it's very, very important. I must make it very clear here that only recently we were in Kaduna, the political capital of the Northwest. We had a session with Kaduna. Before that, my boss had been to Sokoto. We've been to Kano. At the moment, we've also had some very momentous sessions with some people within the north central part of the country. So when we talk about all of that, the reality is when people are in the southern part of the country, they fail to understand that there are 19 states that make up the northern part of the country, and oftentimes they perhaps will meet some media that are in the south to give them tidbits about what is happening in the north. But for us who are actually in the trenches, as I'm speaking, I think we understand the dynamics better, and we're not safe. We have our plan to actually take steps as we should, so that we can actually make things very clear. So we are not bothered one bit about whatever it is that anybody is doing at the moment. What matters is to have those that will participate in the election when it's time, and to do what they have to do and give us the results. So it is something that we have all figured out. Anybody has the right to actually go ahead and create a buzz. You cannot circumscribe the right of any political party to do that. But you should also know that you cannot circumscribe our right to actually unleash what we must unleash in due course as and when we want to do so.
The number to call for those who have been trying to call in and the lines were cutting, the numbers are 070-322-77338, 070-322-77338, or 090-9555-1039, 090-9555-1039. We are on Twitter at LawFM _radio. Twitter at LawFM _radio. And we are on Instagram at LawFM Radio. Facebook.com LawFM Radio is streaming this content live. Thank you for being with us. Mr. Kunnu,
I'm here, please.
I wonder what would be your reaction if I were to ask you, does your party have a candidate in Lagos? And because I know you are resident in the greater Lagos area, would you perchance think that his campaigns or his presence is acknowledged or known at all?
Well,
just asking.
We have candidates vying for elected positions in Lagos. The party has a uniform way of actually unleashing its processes, and because we are a formidable party that works in unison, but we decided to keep everything under wraps until when we've agreed to take steps one after the other. But I think that I need to point attention to something very, very important here. Many of the parties that we see in Lagos are actually parties that have been there for the better part of the Fourth Republic. And you'd agree with me that these parties are still newsmakers because they are still in government. Let me talk about the two major parties, or the parties that are now 3 or 4. If you look at the APC holds power at the center. The PDP has governors across the states of the Federation. The Labour Party has a candidate that is a former governor of the state that has moved from the PDP also to the Labour Party. So the people in question that are leading those parties into the next elections are already those that have made the news by virtue of the elected positions they've held in time past. So we should recognize that any buzz created around these people is the function of the office they've held before. So we are not perturbed one bit about any of those things, and I just thought that it is good to put that out for people to understand that we are also in the news. You only need to, at the click of the button, just actually click the Medici Kachuku African Democratic Congress. You have more than enough information you need. Even on my respective social media platforms and many other platforms, even on Twitter, we are there as well as the others. But these people have made the news to an extent because of the positions they've held, and that is why it appears as if there's an inequality of noise. But we don't peddle cacophony, we peddle regular communication such as we have done so that we can get this information to people.
Like I told you when I was structuring this interview, we at Law FM, especially Power Corridor, we respect balance a lot. So we want to give other parties the opportunities to come and express themselves. I originally would have loved to engage your principal, but you said it was out of town. But I must be honest with you, was it not at the MBA conference? That our conversation was before the MBA conference, and I thought I saw him at the NBA conference, and I was wondering. But you know what? I'll take your word for what a word is.
No. I think it's good you say that. Yeah, there's nothing to hide. Don't forget that my boss is a businessman, and he has concerns outside the country. And soon after that NBA conference, even immediately after I gave he delivered his commentary, my boss actually had a trouble. So you can say that there's nothing to hide in that.
No. I'm not even insinuating that you're hiding anything. I'm just wondering that in these days of technology, I'm engaging with you virtually as we speak. You are literally on the phone as we speak.
Yes, I am with you, but he's in a meeting at the moment. He would have joined you.
No problem, my brother. There are many tomorrows. There are many tomorrows. Especially even after the official campaign season begins.
Yes,
Mr. Kunnu, how would you want to wrap up the okay, we have a caller for you. Caller, good evening. Your name, please, and where you are calling from. Hello. I hope the phones are not, hello. I hope the phones are not a bit messy today. A number of calls got frustrated. It does happen. Mr. Kunnu, okay, another caller. Caller, good evening, and your name and where you are calling from, please.
This is Mr. Olumide calling from Ijisha.
Fantastic. Mr. Olumide, Mr. Kunnu is yours. Kunnu is
good evening, Mr. Kunnu.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, straight to the point. I want to ask Mr. Kunnu, what are the chances of his party at the next election, looking at the antecedents and the powers of the four leading parties, APC, PDP, Labour Party, and probably the NNPP? How wide is ADC? Is it a regional party or national party? Do they have provinces all over Nigeria? How many senators do they have? How many House of Reps? How many people do they have in State House of Assembly?
Thank you. Let's give him the opportunity to respond to your very logical and powerful question. Mr. Kunnu, the gentleman was as explicit as
maybe our friend, maybe he joined in earlier, was maybe a bit distracted. I mentioned that we're in 32 states of the Federation and we're working assiduously to cover the remaining 4 that were already on ground at the Federal Capital Territory. With regard to our spread, we don't have a problem. We have representations across all the states of the Federation. Then there's something I also need us to understand. That when you're talking about chances, everybody emerged according to the process of emergence that INEC has put down for us to follow. Every candidate is equal going into a context, going into a bout. Usually, we always have the theory of the underdog, but for everybody who understands classical politics and contemporary politics, we always and always cannot say it goes one way or not unless the contest has actually been done with.
So it's not over. It's not over until it's over.
Our chances are equal as every other person's chances.
So you are of the school of thought that is not over until it's over.
It is not, please.
Mr. Kunnu, we really want to thank you for this opportunity. We want to say at this juncture that it is now over on this particular session, and we hope to engage either you or your candidate at some time in the future. Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and my boss sends his regards, please.
Thank you very much. My regards to the gentleman too. Okay, thank you. This is Power Corridors, Monday 29th August episode coming to a wrap. My name once again is Gbola Oba. You can always engage me at facebook.com Gbola.Oba. My Instagram page is at Gbola Oba. My Twitter handle is at Gbola Oba. The show's live stream content and past episodes can be found and watched all over again at facebook.com/Law FM Radio. Our Instagram handle is at Law FM Radio. Our Twitter handle is at Law FM_radio. You can leave your opinions as you find fit. Please, let's be polite to ourselves. Unfortunately, some calls could not be picked today, not because we didn't try. We want to thank you, especially those of you who went the extra mile wanting to engage with us. My mama in the studio, my producer of the show is Lady or Miss or Waire Ofigo. Thank you. Oh, I'm making her laugh now.
This station, you learn about your rights. You discover the law in ways you never imagined. You know why? Because we broadcast in your interest.
It's a problem that we are all experiencing in the country. Different parts of the country, the same thing is